Your sleepless god is back, feeling like not a piece of shit and still feeling better, way better. Like I don't cough anymore. It's so good. I don't even feel like I have to shit myself anymore. It feels amazing. I don't know if you guys understand how good it is not feeling like you have to run to the bathroom every 5 seconds, but it feeling fucking great. So back with the new video of what if Midoriya was Venom and Carnage. Let's do a recap. Recap from last time. Midoriya basically made a deal with Nezu. Changed up the deal a little bit, saying he gets 7 pounds of chocolate every month, basically. Sorry, my bones. A lot of people are questioning this, but we all know, and he all knows, that he needs this basically to keep them, Venom and Carnage, calm and keep them organized. Because if they don't have their fucking chocolate, or basically the chemical formula that they have that's also in brains, they're going to be cranky, mad, and fucking rip people apart. They allow him to go to UA, and they're going to put him to Class 1A. That's the end of the recap. Let's start it out. So, as we see Midoriya walking down the basically hallways of UA, basically getting a layout of the area from Aizawa, basically telling him where most of the classes are. As we see the 2 guards that we saw last time, as we see no guns this time though. We see the 2 guards we saw last time with but instead of the guns and all that stuff, no guns, and are in complete uniform, not the school uniform, but in suits and tie and all that stuff, but are ready to freeze Midoriya and burn him alive and must. As I was giving this interview, I shouldn't say, basically just this tour. As he's basically just explaining the areas and how they've been used and what they've been used for, and where the classes are, classes you're going to take and what classes you're not. Just some normal stuff, nothing too major and all that stuff. As Aizawa walks into Class 1A classroom, as we see Midoriya, basically Izuku, I probably should call him, with his hands cuffed completely, and we see still the chemicals. See the chemicals in the cuffs. He knows them out as basically death chemicals. These chemicals, there's 3 buttons for this to be released into his system and basically kill him instantaneously. I said I feel better. I didn't say I'm not sick. There's three people have these buttons. Mr. Aizawa, Nezu, and one of the other guards. Midoriya doesn't know which one does. They swap it around, mix it around, do as much as possible to make Midoriya not know which guard has the buttons. But the other 2, yes, Midoriya knows about. They both have buttons. So if Midoriya does anything fishy, anything bad, kill anyone, release a button, instantly execute that motherfucker. He basically instantly, his eyes go dull, and his instantaneous response is his heart stops, and his heart completely stops, and there's no more, air can't go to his lungs, and his limbs go into tying up completely, to the point where he couldn't move, so he collapses. As Midoriya walks into the room with his handcuffs on, as he stands at the front and he looks about all these 1A classes, as Aizawa says to everyone, "Today we're going to have a new student." As he points at Izuku, and he says to everyone, "This is Izuku. This will be our new classmate for the next couple of weeks for our test class summit. If he does good in our class, he will keep on going in our class until the end of the year. You'll be training talking to and doing classwork with him, so please treat him like a normal person. And and please, if you have any questions, you can ask me. As he gives like this look, like, please don't fucking ask me any goddamn questions. I have things to do, like sleeping. If anyone asks me questions about this kid, I'm going to ask in the most non-specific manner ever. As he points a desk, as Azuku says, as he like waves his hands, but he has the cuffs on, so he lifts up both of his hands and he says, "Hello, my name is Azuku, like you know, and hello." As Awa says, "Midoriya, please go find." Actually, not Midoriya. Azuku, please go find a desk. As he walks up to a desk that's right next to Bakugo. Right next to him. Because no one wants to sit by him. He's explosion. He's a murderer. He's explosion murderer. As he sits right by Bakugo, as he looks at him and smiles. As Bakugo looks at him and doesn't smile back, but looks at him for a very, very long time. And says, as he looks at him and says, "Hey, Azuku, how's life going?" As everyone looks at both of them with extreme shock. As this man just says, as Azuku just says, nothing bad. I just got arrested, handcuffed, but 7 pounds of chocolate monthly. As Bakugo looks at him and just says, Did you make a deal with the school to say you're gonna get 7 pounds of chocolate? And he looks at him and just says, "Okay, I know that might sound crazy, but I need it. I just need it, man." As Bakugo just shakes his head, he's like, "Fucking stupid ass fucking Azuku." As he looks at him and just says, "I probably was smarter than you. What do you mean?" Like, yeah, right, you're fucking smarter than me. I have top grades in my entire fucking school district. As he looks at it and says, "You went to fucking school? And didn't kill anyone?" As freaking Bakugo is like, "Of course I went to fucking school. How do you think I got to UA?" He's like, "I got to UA. And I didn't go to school." As like, Bakugo is like, "Oh yeah, making a deal with a fucking person who owns the school doesn't mean you got into UA. That just means you're good at talking to people." As Azuka's just like, he scratches his head, he's like, "No, that means I'm a tactical genius." As Bakugo just shakes his head and just says, "That doesn't mean shit with your brains or your power. You're still probably weak as shit like you were when we were kids." And he's like, "I remember beating your fucking ass when we were kids." And Bakugo's like, "No, you fucking didn't. I exploded your fucking brains out. You didn't even have a quirk back then. I beat your ass when we were kids in wrestling. Like, that was when we were like 4, you retarded. Are you fucking retarded?" As like all the classes are just looking at this like fucking conversation, and it's basically just talking back and forth, and they're like shocked. As I was like a little bit shocked, but he like composes himself and he's like, "You two, please stop talking before I split you up." As Bakugo and both of them stop talking, but they're looking at each other with that look of like, "We're gonna have a good fucking competition right after this. We're gonna have a good freaking competition to see who is really the strongest here." As everything goes normal. As lunch starts. As they are sitting and eating. As Bakugo is talking with Midori more secretly now. A little bit off to the side and trying to get they sat at a table basically by themselves, and they're going back to back with just some secret conversation. as Bakugo just says, you really did make a deal with the owner to get into UA, and he says, of course I fucking did. This is like a Zuko. He's like, of course I did. I wanted you and everyone else, as he's like, still has handcuffs, and like the guards are not there, of course. But he's like, I wanted you, everyone else to know that I'm still okay, I'm still good, but we can't talk. And Bakugo looks at him, and then Zuko starts doing sign language, and Bakugo eyes open, as he basically says, I have a video. The handcuffs have a video recorder. I say anything, it records it, and it brings it back to the police and UA. We say anything, I'm fucked. Okay, I'm trying to keep secret that that my mom is Midoriya. That we are basically stepbros. Stepbros. That's fucking. I don't know what to say about that shit right there. As Bakugo uses sign language too, and he says, yeah, understandable. But what I saw on the news and what I saw in real person, what the fuck is what? And he basically like doesn't say it out loud, but like basically talking. What the fuck is that thing? I know you call it a symbiote in the court case. What is that thing that you control? And as Midoriya, as Suzuku signs back, he just says, "It's basically my quirk. It's just call it Venom and Carnage." Venom, and as like Bakugo like signs back, Venom and Carnage. What the fuck? That's cool and all, but like Carnage, like murder a massive sum of people, and he's Zuko signs back, yeah. All I'm saying is, I'm a lot stronger than I was when I was a kid. As Bakugo signs back, yeah, you fucking shown that with the fucking murder spree you put in the fucking streets of where I live. As he's saying that more in a shaky tone, because he's remembering the incident, and he's like, "Ah, I will protect my family at all costs." But that was more than Carnage. That was trying to wipe out a fucking civilization. As he's not even signing this, but he's thinking this as we hear Kirishima's like, "Baka bro, how you doing?" As he like slides into the booth. As they like all of them starts chatting about some normal stuff. Kirishima's like, "You're so manly." As everyone is like doing some normal stuff. As we go back to classes, as this is gonna be a little bit different from the show and the anime because I'm putting this in there for no apparent reason, but just for character development. As Aizawa looks at all of them and says, "Everyone, training time." As everyone looks at him and just says, "What?" And he just says, "We're gonna do a small training thing to check how your abilities stand up and grown even by the short time that we're here now. And for some of us," and he looks at Midoriya, Izuku, he says, "This is going to be your first time testing, so I'm going to see what your abilities are at. No special grading. If you go last, I will not cancel you. But we're going to see how strong your abilities can grow in a short time span." As they all get their PE uniform on. As when Midoriya takes off his shirt. See, he's standing right by Bakugo, Kirishima. But when he takes off his shirt, he's fucking ripped to the core. He still has the handcuffs on, so he has to rip it over his handcuffs and put it the handcuffs are big, so it's kind of hard and it's kind of difficult. So He's basically like putting his handcuffs over his shirt. Got his shirt off. With actually, that's physically impossible. But can he take off his shirt with handcuffs? This is a question. I need someone to answer this. No, okay. I'm gonna say they took the handcuffs off for changing, and that's it. They're gonna put him back on just for training. And Aizawa is right there in the changing room, but like a little bit off. Like he's basically in like he's like outside the door, ready for anything. As he takes off his shirt, as he's like flexing his like wrist, because like there's padding around it and everything to keep his wrist from getting like super like red and stuff like that. And like at nighttime they take it off and they're completely ready for any scenario. But like they're still like kind of hurting. So it's like I always like that. Is when he takes off his shirt, he's completely ripped to the core. Like I said, he's ripped, massively ripped. But in that sense where like he's not buff, but he's just like swimmer ripped. Like he's like every muscle is there for like it's like all tight, it's like all perfect. And everyone like Kirishima sees that, Bakugo sees that, and Bakugo's impressed. Bakugo's impressed, like immensely impressed. Cause like that's not Izuku he sees. And Izuku usually wears baggy-ish clothing. Like this entire time, Izuku's been wearing baggy-ish clothing. So he's hiding his form, he's hiding his strength. But that doesn't catch Kirishima's eye. Kirishima, who's right behind him, sees, dude, how do you get so many scars? As Bakugo looks more deeply, as he sees knife wounds, slashes everywhere around his body, some like wounds that look like he measured up to his thumb, and they're like bullet wounds basically. He doesn't know that though. As he sees like a bunch of wounds on his body that are just scars now. They're not even wounds, they're just scars now. As Bakugo looks and he says, yeah. As Bakugo looks a little bit closer, and you gotta kind of look, but there's a tattoo on his side of this, on his side, like one of his sides, on his left side basically. I'm gonna say his left side. His left side just says rip and tear. Literally just says rip and tear. And it's tattooed in ink. But Kirishima doesn't see that because he's right behind him. So he didn't see the tattoo. As Midoriya puts on his Zuko puts on his shirt and just says, just train and all that stuff. It happens. It just, accidents happen. As Kirishima just says, yeah, bro, you're ripped to the core. You're looking good. What is your training major in or something? As Azuki says, training regimen. What do you mean by that? What do you eat? How do you how do you train? How do you train your body? Take a look that way. And he just says, I don't think he can stand it. As it's Kirishima's bro, I've been training a lot. I wanna know. And he just says, how far do you run? As Kirishima's I'm not really much of a runner, but some days I run a mile, 2, just for the cardio and stuff like that, and just for that, and just keeping my heart strong. As Midoriya looks at him and just says, 2. Times that by 10. As Kirishima's eyes go wide. 20 miles? Warm up, yeah. Kirishima just, I don't want to hear the rest. He's I don't lift any weights though. He's what? He's I've been running since I was 4. That far, not, Kirishima looks into that far for warm up. Been running around everywhere. for warm-up. Just remember, I've been training since I was 5. If you've just been training a couple months ago, or just a year ago, you're not going to handle that, what I've been dealing with for the past couple years. As he put on his like his gym shorts too, as everyone's like he sees the like scratch wounds that he's like sees on his thighs, and like some like sees like a couple like basically like his thumb bullet wounds. They don't know that. As he put on like a jacket or something, like a cool-ish like jacket that just says on the back, "No Mercy." He puts that on and he says, "So, build up for that. Don't go straight to me." As he opens the door, as he sees Aizawa, Aizawa just says, "I heard what you said." As he looks down and he says, "I know what those are, though." As Midoriya looks at him and says, "Dude," and he says, "Of course you do. You have a couple of your own. Only a real man will know what that scar is behind your eye." As Aizawa looks at him and just says, "And only a real man will know what those dots are on your leg. And only a real man knows." As he looks into looks at one of Midoriya's legs, and he says, "What burn marks look like." As Aizawa says, "Also, a broken bottle slash. I've seen enough of them to already know." As he walks away, as they do their little test, showing that Midoriya is basically equal to Bakugo. Holding back. Very much holding back. As his time is good, he's using his symbiote, and everything else is fine. As it seems like Bakugo had a massive increase, Kirishima has a massive increase, Uraraka's same, everyone else is basically same, but it's like Kirishima, Icy Hot, and basically Midoriya are very up there with the top 10. Like, up there with top 5. And Midoriya, still not trying. But they're all doing basically really good. As basically, as how it starts writing out their scores. As, when they're writing out their scores, he looks at all of them and says, "Okay, everyone, go change." Everyone did pretty good and not bad at all. As everyone goes back into the changing room, as we see All Might walk up to Aizawa, not in his small might form, and he says, as he walks right up to Aizawa, and he says, "How is our young candidate today?" "Who are you talking to? Who are you talking about?" As I was looking at him and says, "You know the fuck I'm talking about. Zuko and Bakugo Katsuki. How are they doing?" Zuko looks like he was holding back the entire time. As it's like, what does that? As how it shows him the markings, and he, as all my eyes go up, and he says, "Holding back? Definitely holding back." But Bakugo did amazing too, as he shows Bakugo's scores for all the exams, as All Might smiles. And he starts laughing. He says, "Oh my gosh, the youth that we have is gonna," as he spits out some blood. As he wipes away his face, and he says, "But you think Izuku could be a good successor? Absolutely. Would I? No. And he's like, All Might was like, why? He's like, any problems, like, socially? He's like, no problems socially. But he knows too much. He knows way too much. And he says, why? And he says, as he pulls out his phone, as he shows pictures of Midoriya's, like, legs that were, like, he was wearing shorts. So, like, Aizawa took, like, some pictures to show the doctors, and, like, the doctors to see all these pictures. But he shows All Might first, and he says, you see these? As All Might eyes as rise, and he says, gunshot wounds, little knife wounds. As he looks at his, like, left leg, and he says, I've seen those burn wounds, especially for saving people from burning buildings. As Aizawa closes his phone and says, yeah, he's seen way too much. And that's not even his full body. Imagine his full body and what they look like. And remember, this is before Venom and Carnage came around. And he was young. So he was probably, for you guys, just for your information, he was very young when he got this. All of this bullet wounds and stuff like that. All these knife wounds. It was mostly what he got from doing the street shit. What he got for being on the streets. And so Aizawa looks at him and says, I'm going to show the doctors these when we finally fully check him out, but just remember, he is a monster. But he's also a small child, locked into a room, begging to get out. As All Might looks at him and says, what does that mean? And he says, that child that we see when he smiles, when he laughs, he's an entire room by himself, full of monsters that took care of him, that showed him how to be loved when the world turned his back on them. If we can't take his monsters and love them like we do, with no disrespect in our voices, we're never going to ever touch that boy in that closet, in that fucking room. Okay? All Might? So All Might looks at him and says, understandable. So, USJ, as I looks at his clock and says, about 2 days from now, okay? It's like, you think you can come? I don't know, but I'll definitely try to come to the USJ. As I says, thank you. As he says, I better be going now. As Aizawa walks away, as All Might says, wait. Aizawa looks back and he says, thank you. And he says, for what? And he says, everything. As All Might takes a corner, as Aizawa smiles, and he says, everything. Alright, as he walks away. As this is where we're ending the video off. You can see it's going to be a way much longer video because I ended the other video off really short. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Peace.